I'd like to start by acknowledging that this meeting is respectfully held on the traditional territory of the Sycas First Nation, on whose land we live, work, and play. We had the honor of being hosted by Sycas Chief and Council today, and it was a really good time. So glad to be here. We have an agenda circulated. Would somebody like to move adoption? Sir. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. We have the minutes from November 24th. Somebody like to move adoption? Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, we don't have any bylaws, so we'll move on to delegations. FPX Nickel. John, come on up. Battery in it? No. Oh. Got to enter the meeting? Okay. It'll take a couple of minutes to join us here.
These come off. If you had 15, 20 before.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. And thanks for the opportunity to be here today to present about FPX and the Baptiste Nickel project. My name is John Gibson, the community manager, and I support the community office in Fort St. James. I'm here to provide a brief overview of the Baptiste Nickel project, our work in the region, updates from 2025, and how we continue to work alongside communities and local governments like the District of Vanderhoof. All right, so we always like to start off with kind of a value share. So everything FPX does is guided by our three core values of safety, collaboration, and respect. Safety for our workers, our partners, and the communities that we operate in. Collaboration, making decisions together. And respect, meaning doing what's right, protecting human rights, the land, water, and our shared environment. So our purpose at FPX is to support the global transition to a low carbon economy by advancing the Baptiste Nickel project. Baptiste hosts the world's most advanced awarenite nickel deposit, sulfur-free mineral, ideal for stainless steel and electric vehicle batteries. By producing nickel at a very low carbon intensity using hydroelectric power, we look to support and advance the Baptiste Nickel project to supply the materials needed for a low carbon economy. A bit of a company overview. So FPX Nickel is a publicly traded exploration and development company. Our headquarters are in Vancouver, and like I said, our community office is located in Fort St. James. We opened that about 2024, so last summer, and that's when I started with the company. So it's been about, a year and a half, so it's gone by quickly. So it's been great to be able to meet and work kind of alongside some of the members here. So it's nice to be able to see some new faces and get some new perspectives as well. So here we have some of our strategic investment partners. So again, some of the individuals here have seen this before, but wanted to make sure we provided an overview so everybody was well aware. So FPX Nickel is supported by a group of globally recognized strategic partners aligned with the development of a low carbon nickel project for nickel supply chains. These partners include Outokumpu, so the largest stainless steel producer in Europe, as well as JOGMEC and Sumitomo Metal Minings, two leading Japanese organizations focused on securing a long-term critical mineral supply. So these strategic partnerships provide support for the Baptiste Nickel project and global awarenite exploration as well, and align the company with downstream industrial partners in stainless steel and battery materials. So I'll give a bit of an introduction to the Baptiste Nickel project itself. So our project's located about 90 kilometers north of Fort St. James. and is supported by our pre-feasibility study that was published in 2023. Again, potential for initial production to be kind of in the early 2030s. Bit more kind of overview. So kind of break down a little bit of the transmission and power supply. So the Baptiste project, you'll kind of see conceptual transmission line corridor. So again, we're still early days. So this will still require further collaboration, discussion with communities. But really, the line would connect from the project to the hydroelectric grid at the Glenannan substation. This enables for a low carbon mining operation. Again, collaboration and refinement of the alignment is still ongoing, and the utilization of environmental studies, traditional knowledge, and social baseline data. The project has received funding through the Critical Minerals Infrastructure Fund to further study both the transmission line and both road routes. Also discuss kind of towards the end of the presentation on kind of a committee and a structure that we're looking for some support with some members here as well, but we can touch on that towards the end. And so the two road options, we kind of utilize the northern route, which would be the connection for the Leo Koscheck Forest Service Road network, and the southern route, which would follow the Cunningham Forest Service Road, with a connection that would need to be built from the north end of the Cunningham to site. The catalyst for the southern route really was that potential and opportunity to combine both power line and road corridors to help reduce that overall land disturbance. So that would kind of follow, and then it would kind of split off down to the Glenannan substation, and then would come out kind of on the other end of Fort St. James. So this slide kind of just shows some key project information. So generational mine life, 28 years. It is a high-grade nickel concentrate, is done initially through magnetic separation or physical separation, and doesn't require any downstream smelting. It's a very low carbon, as I've stated a couple times, operation, and that's really with the advantage of being connected to the hydroelectric grid. And it is in the lowest decile of CO2 emissions for for global nickel producers, as you can kind of see within that graph there, that it is in that lower decile. And then the opportunity to refine the product as well to produce nickel sulfate for battery electric vehicles. And we're still working on kind of like the early days, but there is some potential for carbon sequestration within the mine tailings. It has been done at other projects. So we're still kind of early days and kind of identifying what that looks like, but there is some potential there as well. So where we are today, this just gives kind of an overview of kind of where we are and kind of the schedule or kind of plan for what we're going to see kind of up until potential operation. So really what we're currently in is in the development stage. So with ongoing environmental baseline studies, community engagement, relationship building, collaborative decision making, again, which is one of our three core values. And so we're still currently in that phase. As we kind of exit the development stage, we would be entering the environmental assessment. Typically, that can be what we say is kind of that 3 to 5 year period. Could be, potentially longer, but gives kind of an overview, and that's really studying the potential, the impacts of the projects, and that kind of that major permitting phase. As you kind of exit that, you get your, final investment decision, and let's say construction began. It's about a 3 year, 3 years of construction. After the 3 years of construction, we'd have 28 years of mine life, and then safe planned enclosure and reclamation for decades to follow after that. So this gives kind of an overview of the potential economic opportunity. So phase one really is kind of the period that we're in today. So for this, it's, prioritizing local and Indigenous businesses per our corporate policy. We've had some great success in youth participation in our field programs as well, local youths and training programs in the field, which has been really great. As you kind of exit, phase one into phase two, which would be construction and operations. So for that 3 years of construction, so there's really an average of about 1,000 direct jobs that are potential for, at site during that 3 years. During the first 5 years of operation, it would be roughly around 600 jobs. And then as we exit that 5 years for the remaining 28, it would kind of jump up to that 900, 950 direct employment opportunities on the mine site during that time, as well as contracting and new business opportunities. And then smaller number of additional jobs opportunities spanning decades for kind of that closure and reclamation period. So in 2025, we completed or continued our First Nation-led environmental baseline program alongside a summer drilling program at Baptiste. So we had 2 drills operating between July and August, completing approximately 900 meters of geomechanical and hydrogeological drilling, largely within the planned open pit footprint. Another kind of great kind of stat that we've had is we had about 75% of the field spend was directed at local and First Nation owned or affiliated businesses. So being able to support regional capacity and economic participation with local businesses, that was a great kind of showcase within this project, and what we really want to make sure that we do continuing and moving forward. And then the community office, sorry, I've got a picture of me up there, but the community office, we're open 5 days a week, 8 to 4:30. Really a big goal of this office is really to try to connect with community members, local government representatives, local businesses, and we have a couple of initiatives. So we have our supplier and business directory. So looking for local businesses to be able to provide information about their business capacity, services provided, so that we're able to have all of that information. So, as we develop the project, we build these relationships, and we're also setting, the businesses up for, or setting ourselves up for an understanding of what the regional capacity is as we get into these, kind of, progression through the environmental assessment, as well as prepare ourselves and the local communities for, the potential for construction and operation. So we do keep that directory kind of, within our database, but we control it here, up in Fort St. James at the community office, as well as an employment database. So we have our different resumes for all community members looking for potential jobs during even field programs, and continuously kind of, again, through the development of the project. We also have our community investment program. So we started that in 2024 when I first came on. We do have an email address on there if anybody is looking for programs. So really kind of what that is structured around is addressing inequality within the community, and making sure that we're providing support even at this early stage to really programs that communities rely on. I know up in Fort St. James, a lot of these programs are run by volunteers. So taking their time out of their day to be able to run, the Fort St. James Senior Center, Primary Care Society. I know it's very similar here in Vanderhoof as well. Everybody, kind of does their part to support the community. So we want to make sure that throughout each stage of the project that we're, at least we're able to provide some support as well. I'm going to be wrapping presents tomorrow for the food and toy drive up in Fort St. James. So programs like that kind of need some extra support. We're always looking for more programs. So if that email is our general community email, but I can also provide my email as well if anybody has programs or initiatives towards the end of this year. Again, 2025 is almost done, but looking into next year as well. So yeah, examples. We were able to support Pinchiwitan Golf Day at Stewart Lake Golf Course, Broadway North Dance Studio. So we provided bursaries for students where families potentially were having, don't have the opportunity to supply their kids with extracurricular activities. So we supplied a bursary for 3 students to be able to support dance classes outside of school hours, as well as support the Fort St. James Primary Care Society, and then did free public skating at the Fort Forum again this year. So always looking for, kind of new and creative and programs, not just in Fort St. James, but here in Vanderhoof as well. And I just wanted to kind of give just a bit of an overview of kind of the next step. So, the filing and issuance of that initial project description. Really, the initial project description is an introductory document that outlines the project footprint, components, baseline information, and alternative options. It also clearly identifies kind of components that are potentially fixed and flexible and open to refinement through the ongoing engagement efforts. So I'll kind of touch on that in the next slide, but this would be kind of the next step, something tangible that communities are able to look at, as well as comment on, as well as kind of we kick off that environmental assessment. And then engagement planning and next steps. So again, initial project description kind of provides a basis basis for the proposed project footprint. We are initiating kind of a new company website, which would just be a bit more user-friendly, accessible, as well as a virtual open house. So that is planning for, it says January 2026, so I'm not exactly sure when, but it'll be kind of in there where people will be able to look at kind of, we've done our physical open houses, so we have poster boards kind of set up, and the virtual open house will be that same kind of setup, but just in a virtual setting. Gives people a little bit more access if they're unable to come to the physical open houses for any number of reasons, but this will give people an opportunity to kind of look at the project and view those boards that we have in those physical open houses and get a little bit more information about the project from their computer or phone. As well, within that critical minerals infrastructure fund, we're looking at setting up a liaison committee. So that would involve local staff and officials if deemed appropriate. So would be looking for representatives from the District of Vanderhoof and the collaboration on, CMIF, EA, socioeconomic issues, opportunities, and that would really be around the linear features, so road and power line alignment and that. We'd also be looking at, in 2026, the creation of a community liaison committee, but we can provide a little bit more information about that as we start to kind of develop and plan the timing of that. And then kind of, continue our scheduled meetings with the district staff and councils as appropriate. So we can always discuss that and kind of making sure that we're providing as much information as the project develops. And then based on the district's discretion, FPX would seek a letter of support in early next year. And just, the steps that you take for that, and would appreciate that. And again, of course, it's at the discretion of the district and the council members here. So that kind of summarizes everything here. That's my home, second home in Fort St. James. But yeah, we're open 8 to 4:30. So if anybody is there, we always have it staffed. We do have, our company website is going to get a nice revamp here in 2026, as well as our community email. But I can always provide my email for direct response as well. I just wanted to say thank you, and hopefully I didn't go over my time. And if there's any questions, please let me know.
Sounds good. Anybody have any questions for John? No, unfortunately, that isn't. Go ahead, Councillor Franco. Oh, no, it was me. There you go.
John, I just, I appreciate you coming here tonight and giving us the update. I think whatever's good for the region is going to be good for our community. So seeing that happen up at Trembler Lake is good, right? How can we help? Yes, I heard you say a letter of support, but at the same time, we've seen these presentations. We've seen mines. You've seen Centerra's mine come to fruition. We've seen the Artemis mine south of us come to fruition as well. What we should talk about is community agreements where we talk. I don't think we want to share. It's not about sharing in revenue, but we should talk about sharing in jobs. And so, when we get to that EA portion, a good wholehearted discussion needs to be, as we transition from forestry into something new in our economy, we should have an agreement with each of the mines that talk about that economic development agreement. And so it's not right now, but it's something to put in the back burner. You and I think I've talked about this, but we should take a look at that because we have to look out. We're the center of a bunch of communities around us, great airport, all of those things. How do we help? But we'd like to see some jobs in and around our neighborhood. We need that. And I think some sort of agreement, similar maybe to what you might have with the nation communities, would be what we would be looking for.
Yeah,
Something to think about.
yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, like you said, you know, we've had discussions and definitely we're, you know, aware of that and we really appreciate it because really our goal is to make sure that we do, you know, at the development of this project and throughout, if, you know, it did come into operations, that we are impacting the communities that we work in the region around in a positive manner. And a big thing with the amount of job opportunities there are there, we want to make sure that the impact does come back into these communities. So I appreciate that and would, yeah, look forward to, you know, more discussions, you know, with yourself and council and staff in regarding to that. So thank you so much.
Good. Any other questions? Seeing none, thanks for the update. We're really excited. Yeah, let us know what we can do to help support. And I echo Councillor Franco's comments, but the EA is the time to be looking at that. So, I mean, that's pretty early on in the process, right? Making sure we get that in. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Should I hit mute? Good.
We're good. Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to CAO report 6.1, Centennial Event Sponsorship and Donation Policy.
This policy came up from the Centennial Committee, just instead of amending our old sponsorship policy, just create a new one just for this event for the year. So this is just that policy for sponsorships and donations for adoption.
I'll move that we adopt that.
Seconder? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, 6.2. This is the first time I've done this. Bringing this back for reconsideration. Just looking for maybe a bit more clarity for the applicant and where we want to go with it. Does anybody have a direction they want to go? Councillor Frankel.
I'm gonna throw one out there, Mayor. I'm going to have a recommendation to rescind first and second readings of this zoning bylaw. But I would need a seconder so I can go into detail about why I'm there. And so I would make the motion to rescind first and second. Close the file. Yep.
Do we have a seconder for that to get it on the floor to discuss? Okay, and the floor is back to you, Councillor Frankel.
Thanks, Council. This isn't about, to me, it's not about the application so much in front of us. It's about the intent of C2 highway commercial zone, and then the fact that that zone was created to, you know, to rely on highway visibility. These lots need a little bit larger area for ease of vehicle access and needs more parking. Introducing a retail component into that shifts away from our OCP and the zoning that was the original intent that we came up with, right? So I'm worried that that leads to what I call spot zoning and leads to a precedent, so that any parcel in our community can come and request whatever, and then we'd have to make a amendment to the zoning bylaw. We put a lot of time into OCPs and zoning bylaws to determine where we would like growth within our community. And so we want this to be a commercial zone. We don't want it to be a retail zone. We've already decided that in an OCP. I also feel that, we got some public input, but we didn't get a lot that were within that 100 meters. It's kind of difficult. So then I think that is our ability to rely on our planning process to make sure that we come to the right decision. It's not that I'm against business. We've got a planning process. We should be sticking close to plans. And I don't think if we ever approved one of these things, we don't have the time or the staff to actually evaluate the impacts of traffic, the impacts of movement, all of those things. And I don't think we really do that. So for those reasons, the limited relevant public input, the risk of spot zoning, what I call spot zoning, and then the lack of impact assessment. And really the most important one is the misalignment with our long-term planning goals. That's why I would put this forward to rescind until we get through an OCP. And our OCP is coming up fairly shortly, again, after 5 years. So I think it's a good time to go through all of our zones and have a good hard look about what we want and where we envision growth to be in all of our community. And we did that 4 years ago. So,
Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, moving on, 7.1. The Vanderview Hamilton intersection safety review.
So we had a consultant do a review of the intersection and provide us with some recommendations on how we could possibly look at some safety improvements for that location. They had provided us with a table that kind of broke it down into some different categories, looking at traffic safety performance, property impacts, drainage and utility impacts, construction costs, and maintenance requirements. And through this process, it kind of laid out a few different options on how we could possibly proceed with this. There's a couple of them that are a little bit challenging as far as long-term maintenance would go, and that would be the speed bumps and the intersection traffic circle. Winter activities would definitely have some challenges with that. But looking at it, the option of increased signage would be a very good first step. And we could start with that almost immediately. And we could always move ourselves into the road diet and curb extensions at a later date. This will just help to identify the importance of the traffic control devices that are in place there already. It would provide us with some lead-up signage in both directions on Vanderview to kind of give that indication of this is what would be necessary at that location. And then, like I said, we could always move forward with those other phases at a later date. This is a lower cost alternative going with the option one. And it still meets a large number of those requirements or the evaluation criteria that was brought forward. So looking for comment from council.
Any questions or comments? Councilor Martins.
Thanks. Well, I think that's a great place to start. It's people need to be a little more aware of what intersections and signage is certainly the first thing that they're going to see. So I think that's a great place to start it, and we can get some results or get some data on that, down the road in a few months or 6 months, whatever it is, and see if it's helped it at all, for sure. Sometimes you see, we all do it, we get a little bit complacent driving, you don't notice signage as much, but as soon as there's something new, we kind of see it again. And I think that, I think it's a great place to start, for sure.
As a driving instructor, are we ready for traffic circles? Roundabouts?
Okay, we'll go to Councilor Lozay.
Fine here. Thank you. No, that's good. Well, to start with the signage, I'm just wondering because the report says that traffic and safety performance is only rated as a 1. So I mean, it's a great start, and I'm happy to see that. But I'm just wondering what kind of timeline we'd be looking at for the road dieting option, if that would be the next step.
We'd have to look at it over the summer and just see whether there's
Okay.
been some improvements by that point or towards the end of the summer.
Right.
And if that's the case, then we can start to take a look at those other aspects. The installation of the bullards or the small devices around to create that dieting will likely get taken out by snowplows the first times they go by them.
Right. Okay.
So we would probably want to do that kind of an installation in the spring so that we can see the change in behavior in advance and then decide if we want to go to something that's more of a fixed situation at a later date.
Great. Oh, good. And no, it's really good to see the report and to be looking at this. Trying to take my hand down.
Anybody else? No, good. And so that's just received for information, right? So, yeah. Yeah.
I think you brought up a time. To me, that's important. If this is such an important issue and we're looking at it, can we really narrow down that time and put it in the minutes saying that we're going to look at it again following this? Because in the past, sometimes these things get looked at and then suddenly it's a year later, or year and a half later. I'd like us to make sure we stuck to that timeline if we could.
Okay, so why don't I put down for, we'll get some feedback in September, October of this year?
Okay.
Good. Okay, we'll move on. RCMP crime statistics. Does anybody have any comments coming out of that? Okay, and council priorities on there to remind us of the goals we've set and how we plan to get there. Correspondence is an attachment, and moving on to councillor items. We'll start with Councillor Frankel.
Yeah, we've been working as a council. A few of us attended the community forest meetings on our expansion. That's all I can say to that. And today was a meeting with chief and council out at SICAS. So I think there's lots of negativity in the media about the forest industry. We've known that for a long time in our community, and I think we're doing a good job trying to transfer our community along. And everything that we do, including the mine tonight, is going to help us as we go forward. So that's all I've got.
Great. Councillor Loze? Nothing? Okay. Councillor Young?
Sweet, similar. I had the COP4 meeting, the Centennial meeting as well. I did have a chance to attend the District of Vandroof celebration. And the big part for me that's really exciting is the staff recognition every year when we do that, and to see somebody getting on. Was it 25 years or 30 years? It was 25. You know, that's pretty awesome to do that for Michelle. So again, it's always good to recognize staff and for all the hard work that they do. And also want to recognize, I know everybody in this room was probably there as well, but again, the chamber and the Parade of Lights, and you're getting a lot of kudos on social media and everything else. And there's some great pics. And I know the mayor and I and Councillor Boomer, as we were walking down to hand out our huge bags of candy, and it was hard to walk with those huge bags of candy almost, you know? So anyway, when we get down there, just talking to everybody as we went down and to see the effort that went in to all those floats this year. Like I think I've gone to almost every one over the years, so have a lot of you, and it's hours and hours that went into those floats. So it goes back to what Councillor Frankel was talking about. You know, there's some negativity, but there's still, I think, a lot of positivity around the town. The town spirit was bright and shiny that night, and not to be too punny with the Parade of Lights theme there, but man, I just couldn't believe the amount of time and volunteer hours it took to do that. So that's a good sign when people are that positive and working that hard to do that thing. So anyway, kudos to you guys for organizing. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Ballmer.
So yeah, I was at the COM4 meeting, and on the 4th, I attended the first part of the WEI Teams meeting that happened, basically going over the dam and Clinton Beach. Basically did all dam safety and breach assessments that have been done, and it's looking good right now. Alex Mercier updated the flow numbers for 24-25. Not really a bunch. We know all of this stuff. 2023 was our worst drought year. 2025 is the 5th worst year. So we had a really, really bad year, and it's really dry up there. And then bang, my feed dropped and I lost the meeting. So I went over to the work fair that was happening over at the Friendship Center. And it was well set up, a lot of people there to give out information. And there was, when I was there, a fair bit of people trucking through there, looking at that. And then, of course, the Parade of Lights. I also want to say what an incredible performance. I had a number of people say they think it was the largest. Now, I don't know. I didn't count the floats, but there was a lot. And when the mayor and I were waiting to go over, I asked him how many did he think had actually entered. He said, not many, but that doesn't mean much. Exactly. So it was really well done, and I've got nothing but good things to say about that. And then I was out at Sycus with everyone today too, so that's it.
Sorry. Councilor Martins.
Thanks. Yeah, ditto to all that, those kind of things for sure. Everybody attended lots of meetings and I again, just touching on the parade of lights or everybody is, and you don't want to overdo it, but I was, stuff like that kind of fills you with a little bit of local pride when you get that kind of response. And that to me is very important. And I even thought that night I was talking to a few people about it too, the two big events that the chamber has had, you know, the pumpkin walk and that brings the people together. And that's something we sure need to be, I think, proud of. And, you know, so kudos to you guys for sure. I've been, as far as what I've been doing on behalf of council, I guess more than anything, I've attended lots of these meetings as well, but also been spending quite a bit of time just talking to different businesses and stuff about their support for our centennial event. And everywhere is really good feedback, and some of the sponsorships are starting to come to fruition here now, and that again is a very good thing. So I think we hit it on the nail on the head with the big event. People are getting excited about it. So that's it for me.
Awesome. Good. For myself, I said a lot to do with COM4. We had the Community Forest Association, had a little meeting with them. That was a really good touch base and talk about how some of the possibilities of how our expansion might look and how we keep aligned with where they're going. On the 27th, took part in a webinar with the Ministry of Energy and Climate Change Solutions, talking about how power is allocated, new allocations in the province. And it was really great to see them talking about moving away from a first come, first served basis to actually evaluating the impacts, both for the province and for local governments, and making decisions based there. So that's really exciting to see them taking that change in, or potentially taking that change in the way they allocate that. Again, the Christmas party was touched on, but that was really great to see most of our staff there, most of council there. It's really important that we do come together at those times and celebrate each other. Foundry, we had the first local advisory committee meeting, which is good to see that moving ahead and going forward. Tom touched on the WEI. It was good they got into some of the potential changes for the STMP period, looking at having reducing the peaks and valleys and really constricting to what it can be in the middle. The modeling doesn't show a lot of temperature change, so they're going to continue to look on that we wouldn't have many more exceedances, but would get a longer benefit through the summer and wouldn't have that variability in the water level through that period. Work BC Career Fair, I stopped by, and that was really good to see the amount of people there and the amount of booths there were. And I was on the GNC committee meeting for a half hour before this one, had to step up early. But yeah, no, there might be a few things come to council out of that one, it sounded like. So that's good. Perfect. So the last thing is the January 22nd anniversary event, and wanting to assign a budget for that. Probably, I think we've discussed in the past that probably fireworks is the best thing to do, and I think that came in around 10, is it? Okay, 9 for that, and then 1,000 for other hot chocolate, coffee, and cookies and that kind of thing. So I think what I would like to ask for, if somebody would like to make a motion that we pre-approve that as a budget item for next year, and we get going with it.
I'll pre-approve. I'll make that. I'll make the motion.
Do we have a seconder? Any discussion around that? Go ahead, Councillor Martin.
Yeah, I was just going to elaborate a little bit. I spoke with Richard at at Tim Hortons about doing the cookies like we talked about at our meeting, to have actually 100 cookies, you know, just a chocolate chunk cookie with 100 on it. And using the mayor's advice, so that would, Richard quoted me on like doing 100 of them. And I thought, well, hopefully it was more than 100 people show up. But so told him the other day, I'll confirm with him this week that it's going to happen, as long as we vote on it in a minute here. And then part of that deal with him is for him to serve that as well. We don't have to have any staff there for that or anything. It's his tents, his lights, his whatever. So he can be in a pretty high profile place right there and give away the hot chocolate and the 100 cookies. And if there's too many, well, you can all take 2. But yeah. And that came in, just like you said, around $1,000, just a little bit over for 300 of each. So, yeah, thanks.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. And with that, we are adjourned. Oh, sorry,